for like put you to sleep alarms?
No, then I wouldn't get up.
Anytime you said this, I really might have been.
That's
Yeah.
true. Like I've made the mistake of like
So sorry, everybody.
My ears.
All right. That's really bad.
Can you mute your mic? And you also wanted an index one, right?
There should be an index method already in there. Or are you talking about the view?
The view.
Yes. So index should look like this, or something close.
Okay. And we didn't need to add anything else, right?
Index and my view. Nope.
Okay. And the controller.
Yes. Anybody else still working?
I'm trying to catch up from last time. Just create it. I'm not seeing what it's telling me to do. It says to do the new project, and then it says select ASP.NET. Yeah, like
Oh, I think you forgot to install some stuff.
oh shit.
So go back up to your pre-work.
My view.
Did you check that box
Victory.
when you were doing the installing? So you can shut down
That didn't
Man.
take very long.
Really?
the .NET Core. So
Adding a file is brutal.
want to do that.
What, a waiting studio? Or
Yeah, for it to build whatever 4 lines of code were.
Yeah.
Start menu,
I'm sure it did a lot more in the background.
Yeah.
hopefully install.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those Microsoft guys in the video were like really excited about it, so.
Yeah, they were. I was like, I'll have what they're having.
Right.
that's the only change they need to make.
I mean, it's like, this is cool, but I don't know if it's, I'm not there yet. I'm not that cool yet.
Yeah, so close that.
I appreciated their enthusiasm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it would be better than listening to you go, and then you're gonna go
Right.
over here, and we added this cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it
You're
is
just
the
like,
greatest.
what?
I would probably make it 4 minutes into that and turn it on.
You doing all right?
Yes.
Not working? Okay.
You only need one open, so it would actually open up more than one. There'll be a modify button here.
Yeah, I
Click
watched
that,
another one of
and
those
it'll load up that
videos
view.
at some point, and it was
Thank
2
you.
different people, but they were equally as engaging.
Yeah, yeah.
Must be their
I'm not that engaging, I apologize.
thing. At
Cool.
least you're a live person, you know, in the room.
There's a catch-22
It's
though.
interactive. It's different.
Also means you're within range of throwing my laptop.
That's true. Pros and cons.
The good news is I'm very unlikely to do that.
All right, so next thing I want to do, everyone can stop working now. So I don't like the My View stuff, so I'm gonna change it a bit. So on my controller, I'm gonna rename this to greeting. Can't get through an intro course without a hello world, so I might as well make it proper.
Sweet.
So you can right click on this and there's a rename option.
Greeting, I'm guessing.
Yep, so I rename this to greeting to match my controller's return here. And what I also want to do is I would like to be able to pass some information from my controller over to my view. So let me create some simple logic here. And then I'm super lazy. Everyone used these before? Ternary operators. Cool. Y'all are all pros.
How did you just get it to populate that so fast?
I copied from a
Okay.
Off screen.
text on the side of the screen.
Cheater.
Gotcha.
All right, and so here's our message, and I want to pass it to my view. I can use that overload that takes the model message. And now that will get passed over to my view. If we come back over here to our view, I could do some magic here and use this keyword model. Who can tell me from the readings what this says?
That's a, well, the, no.
It had something to do with model binding potentially, and it's the model property,
Okay,
something along those lines.
all of our views have a model. And what this value is whatever you pass in here. Make sense?
So it's the HTML equivalent because you use the
Yeah.
at symbol in front of it.
It's not HTML, it's whatever we passed in here.
Okay.
So if it, in this case, since it's so late in the evening, it'll be good afternoon, the string.
Mhm.
So here, this is a string.
Huh. And it's just uppercase model. And
Uppercase
it will
model.
always be the second parameter that's passed to the view.
We'll cover that in a bit.
Okay.
There's some other methods here.
Okay.
All right, so if I run this, good morning, because I messed up my logic. Sure, you can pause your code. It'll jump to the current execution point, which is kind of annoying. And then you can change code and resume. If it's something really small, if you're changing, like adding a method or creating a new property, you have to stop and rebuild. There you go. Good afternoon, world in the view. Cool. All right. Well, we're not JavaScript, so I don't like this dynamic crap. So, nifty thing up here, we can do model lowercase. And we can tell it that type of that model, this capital M model. In this case, it's a string. So this is saying when my page gets the data from the controller, it expects this to be a string. And if it's not, it's going to throw an exception. So if you hover over this now you can see it says string. So we get all the IntelliSense for string. So if I want to clone it or compare it or contains or first, whatever, that's all included now.
Could you please repeat?
What was it?
Please repeat.
Sure. So I added the at model, and this is defining the type with capital at model. So before I comment this out, side note, this is how you comment in Razor Pages. If I hover over this, it says dynamic. So this is like object, but you can dot whatever you want off of it, and it'll still compile. But I don't get any help because it could be anything. It could be an object, it could be a string, it could be a date. There's no telling. So if I do toString, this will work, but it's only because string has a toString method. I could do contains. And this will work because string has a contains. But if I pass null in here instead, oops,
Oh man, getting dangerous.
null would get passed by greeting, and now this would blow up because this is null. There's no checking going on.
Mm.
So this is anti-JavaScript stuff here. So now we know what it is, and we would get errors beforehand. So I
So-
tried to pass something besides a string to it.
So that's our type safety. Is
This
doing
is our
that
type
model.
safety. Yep.
And is that what they call model binding? Or is that a different thing?
Model binding refers to the in and out here.
Okay.
So if I were to do string input, when you make a request from the browser, or close it. So if you somehow included something called input and got it to the code, model binding is taking that text, that string text file data, and converting it into a string here.
Okay.
That's the model binding.
Okay.
That conversion. All right, so can everyone catch up to this point? You already caught up? Or you still?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Misunderstood. I'm already there.
You're recording all this, right?
Yes,
Okay.
except everything was muted for the first couple of minutes, or 15 minutes, so it's just
Okay.
gonna be silence.
Oh man.
That's all right. Yeah, it's still trying to do that. That's weird.
Model world. Pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you just select the .NET Core?
No, I did it before you did all that.
Oh, I mean, when you did this just now. This installer.
I don't think so. No.
Both channels. What modules you were missing?
Oh yeah, no, for the ask for.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah, no, I did that before you.
It's good.
Okay,
evening.
cool. I just want to make sure that
Actually-
install is going fine.
Yeah. It seems like it's okay. It's just a lot slower than I thought.
Oh,
I mean, if you don't mind,
that's
that might be faster with the hardline connection for downloading, but
Oh,
I don't know,
all right.
and I haven't tried it.
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
Do you want to switch spots, Eddie? Would that be helpful?
I can.
Those cords are super short, it wouldn't reach the table.
Okay. Gotcha. What are you downloading?
you're gonna have to be like this next to it,
I think the ASP.NET Core
like you've seen The Martian, right?
extension for.
Where he's stuck on Mars,
Gotcha.
and then it's like supposed to be NASA,
Yeah.
and that guy's like sitting next to the server freezing, and you're like, if you're a software guy, why would you be sitting there? You could remote in or do something.
Yeah.
Why does he have to be sitting there waiting for it to compute? Why does he have to be plugged into it? Like,
And you-
it was just really weird. I was like,
Oh, for the.
yeah, he's like, I have to be in the brainchild server room and plugged in and like three feet away from it or whatever it
I can't
is.
remember.
Yeah.
If you're talking about that C where they have like,
I came
they were
to one
testing
too,
some
and I was just
module or something like that.
Well, he was testing the logic for like slingshotting around the Earth to get back to Mars and seeing if they could. Yeah, he's just like, why do you have to freeze it? It's dumb. Like, this doesn't make sense. But I guess they wanted to show off NASA server room or some server room or whatever. So this may be a dumb question, but when we did the intro class, we talked about media, like the media for like cell phone, not iPad or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Mhm.
how will we implement that in Razor? Do we go over that, or like, is that a default?
Up there.
Yeah. So I guess this just does it. Razor just already has like pre-built.
You can change this. This whole project is just a template.
Okay.
So this is like quickly get you off the ground running.
All right.
So everything you did in the intro class, you can do in this project without writing any C. C sharp.
Okay. Well, okay.
We just haven't got to this yet.
Gotcha.
Everyone caught up?
Yes.
Julio. All right. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways we can pass data to the view. The really bad way, in most cases, is the thing called view data. If you take a look at this, this is a dictionary of some kind. And so I can actually specify any greeting, really.
View data.
I had some fun stuff written down, but I'm missing it now, so never mind. Wait, no, it's not. It's not. Buenos dias. Is that right? That's good morning, right?
Mhm.
Good day. Something like that.
Yeah, good day.
All right. So view data is a dictionary. We can set whatever key we want, and we can set the value to it. This is a dictionary of objects indexed by string. So if I come over here, I can pull out that Spanish greeting. I'm not going to try. Right. And to get into C# syntax, we put the at in front of it. So you can hover over here. This is a dictionary. And so if we return this, this is actually an object, but before anything gets rendered into the view, it attempts to call toString on it. So it's going to call toString on whatever we have in there, put that in the DOM into our HTML, and that's what gets returned. So to run this again. So here's our second line. So this is coming from our view data. Super straightforward, right?
Did you say it's a bad way to do it? Is that what I heard?
It is bad in most cases. So can anyone figure out why that would be a bad way?
I mean, I can see that it says view data at the top. I don't know if that's related.
It is.
And also if there's a spelling
Like-
mistake, if
What?
there's a spelling mistake, then
It's not a mistake. Spot on. I have to know exactly what I'm typing here. It's not going to tell me if I'm wrong. But I change that.
So that's just like an opportunity to mess that up.
Right. Change that. Now it just silently fails. There's no exception. It just didn't find it, and it returns nothing.
And that would be really confusing to debug.
Exactly. Because something like that, you don't know if it happened here, if it happened wherever you were getting the data from, or if it happened in your view. You don't know where any of that could have gone wrong, and this is just adding another place it could go wrong. We use it here because all of this is in the same file. I could just as easily create some global variable somewhere and set that here. But this is scoped to this view and lets me pass data from the top of my file to other places in these views over here, which we'll cover here in a bit. The last thing I want to talk about
I remember in the reading for 0, there was view bag.
yes, that's the next one.
Okay.
So ViewBag lets you do something very, very similar, except ViewBag is a dynamic type instead of a dictionary. So I can just go okay. So same exact spelling. When I come down over here, and add some HTML in here. Right, so a nifty trick, if you didn't know it already from VS Code, you can actually copy a whole line without selecting it. So Control C, V, copies the whole line and just paste it right above it. It works with cut as well, so you can remove lines. All right, so we use the view bag here. And we'll rerun. All right. There you go. What's weird about that?
It says Buenos Dias again twice.
So this is essentially two ways to do the exact same thing. One, you deal with a string to index into a dictionary, and the other one is you're using a dynamic type.
The dynamic type lets you IntelliSense it, right?
No.
With the dot?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So over here, again, no help. Same situation. It just lets you not have to index and do the stringing.
Okay.
Same problems too. If you misspell, it doesn't tell you. If anything, I would say view data has a slight advantage over view bag in that you could create a constant, store that somewhere, and use that constant to access these items. With view bag, you're stuck. You can't index into it like you can in a dictionary. I don't think it's worth, I mean, do y'all want to go through and add these 2 extra steps here? It's up to y'all. I don't think y'all will get a huge benefit out of it.
2 extra steps. What, like adding this?
Yeah, adding these 2 things.
No. All right.
All right.
Unless you think it's necessary. I mean, how often would you use that in the real world?
So there are a few scenarios like here, and then the next thing I'm going to cover. Excuse me. So has anyone noticed there's a bunch of other stuff up here that's not in our view?
Like the top bar?
Like where is this coming from?
Mhm.
And this.
Is that from the stuff that was in the brackets? The view data title?
It is not. But there's a bunch of stuff missing. So MVC has this concept of layout. So if you're written multiple pages that all look the same but with different content in like the body area, it gets rather repetitive because you're copying the same header, the same footer, the same sidebar, whatever. MVC gets around that by letting you use what's called a layout page. Convention is to put an underscore in front of these files. And this is essentially the layout for that page. So it contains your header, your footer, any metadata that you want on every single page, all of your menu options, things like that little consent thing that pops down every time. That's specified here. We have our footer and then all our scripts. So we're using jQuery, Bootstrap, and our Site.cs or Site.js on every page. So it would go here. What we've been doing so far is only changing what this @renderBody does. Anyone guess just by looking at this what we're doing? How this is working?
The my greetings whatever is targeting that @renderBody.
Yep.
To insert whatever text or HTML that we want to put in that specific. So it's like the ID for your page that you're targeting, or your view that you're targeting.
Yeah, you can think about it as like this is the ID of the element that you're going to replace.
Right. But I haven't seen the render body
Right.
anywhere. So where does that? How do we know how our page is targeting that specific ID?
So view start has this set up in here. And what this does is set a global to the scope of your view. So when you load a page, this is a class level property. And we're setting it to underscore layout, which points to our layout down here in our shared.
Mhm.
And the order in which all of these shared things loads, so you do view start, view imports, then it'll go look at your page, process this, and then if the layout hasn't changed when it comes time to finally display, it'll go load the layout and shove that into this page where render body is specified. It will always shove it into render body.
And so render body is a keyword.
Yes, it is a method specifically for doing this.
How would you do multiple of those? Like if you wanted to do one there and then like under the HR do a different one.
So look,
Like
two
before.
bodies.
Yeah, well, not necessarily bodies, I guess. I guess
So we will cover a concept of like components.
okay.
So you can say, here's a piece of HTML I use 5 times on the same page. How do I just write it once and then reference that in 5 places? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, then yes, we will get to that. There are a couple different ways to do that. And then there's a concept of partials, which are like this cookie partial. This is just a block of HTML. It's going to use the same context as the page that we wrote. So anything you set in your greetings here, like view data, that is still going to be set to my view in cookie partial. So if you wanted to print out that value, you can do it here. Then you can see in layout, we're actually using that. So we're setting it in our page for greeting, and then it's being read out here when it does the layout.
Okay.
So that we get my view up in here. If we go to about, it changes to about because we set view data to about there and it reads it back out. Anyone have any questions over what I just talked about? Okay. So I'm going to create a new view layout after I stop debugging. Underscore is not required, it's just convention. You can do this or you cannot, it doesn't matter, it'll change how it generates your template. But I'm going to be replacing it all anyways. So by not checking that, it's going to generate all of our HTML data, header, tags. I'm terrible at HTML. Y'all are probably better at it than I am. So I do most of my stuff from copying and pasting. Consequently, this class is not about HTML, it's about MVC. So if you want to keep the same bootstrap for all of your stuff, I'm fine with it. So I'm really interested in your ability to write Razor pages and database and all sorts of other fun stuff. All right, so I can do the same thing here. I can remove the nav bar if I want. This is a common thing to do for like a login page. you would load a different layout just to prevent any accidental exposure to something they shouldn't be allowed to access to when they're logging in. I don't care about the cookie, so I'll remove that. I still want that same stuff there. We'll change this to my. Change it up here. Okay, and I'll get to this after you all follow along here. Sorry. Okay. So if I run this again. Okay, so I refreshed and it's still there. You would know why?
You need to do that hard refresh.
No, but good guess.
You're not on your layout. You're on the home about.
Yes, so I haven't set the layout page. That is getting done here in the view start. This is where you would put things that you want to apply to every page.
So we need to do one that's like my layout equals underscore my layout.
Or you can go view start.
Or I could go view start and I could change it for everything. If I want to change it just for this page, I can just change it here. And then, all about. Okay, so now you see I don't have the header, all the stuff I removed. And then if I comment this out, we'll get our header back. Easy enough?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go through and make a my layout and apply that to the about page this time instead of the my/index.
Could you please go back to underscore my layout,
So the file?
the file?
You said you wanted that done to our greeting, right? Our greetings sheet.
I want you to set the layout for the about page.
The about
for the
page.
home about.
So when you first opened this, you had deleted what was stock in there and you had copy and pasted from the other layout? Is that what you
Yes, I took everything in here and just pasted it in here. And then
did? But there
removed
was
the-
something that was like stock in the my layout when you first opened it and you like deleted all that? Yeah.
Yep.
So you deleted that. and you
Yep, I
copy and
just
pasted it.
replaced that. You can leave this just like this, but you're not going to have Bootstrap's content and then layout functionality in here.
So you just deleted the header and footer here.
I deleted the header. What I did in here is not as important. I just want you to create a layout page. Make sure you use this render body somewhere in there.
There was the line at the top that said like layout equals null. Just deleted this.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we deleted it.
Yes, because what we're doing here is we're creating a layout, and we use the template for creating a view. So that's why there's the layout at the top. Sorry. Is that going any faster?
It is, yeah, it's significant.
Perfect.
It's just still cutting along. Sorry.
All right, let's see if it worked. Oh no, 404. That's not good.
I think that's right. I don't know. It does see my layout though. So I did something.
You added it in there.
Yeah. I don't know if I did
Oh,
anything I
please.
intended to do, but
I've got that totally screwed up.
it's different.
It is different.
There we go. Well, now, sweet.
There you go.
Did you guys
Do you
learn
want to go over here?
Bootstrap?
29 is compile.
Yeah, we didn't either. Yeah.
So these like landing pages, like using
Just,
these
like,
view
heard
things, you
about
could
it.
do the layout with a delay, right? And then like that you do like the
concept.
welcome and then like fade out to the actual. And that way it would let you do all your database connection query stuff without making it like load in when you get there.
No.
No.
I'll show you what's happening here in a second.
Okay.
Because that's
What
what you're thinking about is front end
Okay.
stuff going on,
Right, right.
and this is all server side rendering.
Okay.
Because what's actually happening is all of this is happening on the server, and then the client gets it at the same time
With the query and everything done already.
with the query, with all the content. It's like a static page is loaded according to
The client.
the client,
Gotcha.
Chrome.
Okay.
Actually, I want you to do it on your home about page.
Dan, what was the shortcut that you used to select everything?
Online or select what?
Like when you copied the layout into the My Layout, you had selected all the code on that page.
Control A.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Anybody not have the about page in their new layout? Speak now. Okay. All right, so the last thing I want to cover is sections down here. So what this will let you do is specify a section to load within your layout. Kind of like render body does, but it lets you place it within the layout. And it doesn't have to be within the layout. Doesn't have to be in a layout page. It can be in any subcomponent. So when we get to view components later, or you want to do a partial like this cookie, you can render a section in here. The way we do that is, say I'm on this page and I have specific scripts that apply. So if this is a map page and I want to load Google Maps, there's no sense in me downloading the Google Maps JS library every single time I load the page when I'm not actually going to use it. So if I want to only load certain things on certain pages, so I can do section, and then I give it the name. And this name has to match what's specified here. So I have scripts, and now everything I put in here will get rendered in my layout page here.
At the bottom.
The bottom, because that's where I specified this. If I move this up to here, it will happen between loading jQuery and Bootstrap.
which might be a bad idea.
Yeah, so if there's something in the script section that requires Bootstrap, then it's going to fail here because Bootstrap hasn't loaded when it tries to load your section.
Okay.
You can do that with selecting any text and using Alt and the up and down arrows, and that'll move the lines you have selected up and down. All right. So that's all I have for lesson 1. Went way longer than I thought. Anybody have any questions over that?
That's okay. Wait, that's lesson 1?
Yes, this is finishing up lesson 0.
Zero. Okay.
Last classes, our first lessons 0. I'll try to be better at that. All right.
Great, thank you.
So you should know enough now to be able to do the homework from lesson 0's chapter. And that's going to be essentially what we've already done, but you're going to do a little bit more in there.
Dang. All right.
Any questions about the homework?
Oh, so the add logic is just making sure the layout points to your layout on each page, basically.
Yes, I want you to put the layout, whatever this logic
Only if
does,
the page is loaded during.
I want it to apply to every page. And then I want you to apply that to visible by 2 logic.
So
Oh,
would you recommend putting that logic in view start or in each?
Play around with it.
Okay,
Part of your assignment.
understood.
All right. All right, so we've already covered, well, that's fine. So the next lessons, so lesson 0.5 is essentially a copy of this project as it is now in the next folder.
so 0, 1 folder.
So I have an end of lesson. This is what we've essentially done up to this point. That's a copy of the start of lesson here. And then this will be what we'll go over for lesson 0.5. So if there's anything you miss, it should all be in the end of lesson completed.
Cool.
Make sense?
I think so.
Okay. So I'm going to continue on in this project. All right, so since this is supposed to be our to-do app,
So do you recommend we keep going in the same file too, or should we open a new file?
I would stop.
Stop this file.
Let's stop this file.
Go to the start of the other file.
Go to the start working out of that. If you want to keep what you've been working on just for your own posterity, I would go ahead and make a commit now.
Okay.
So that you have some way to see what changed as part of lesson 1 versus what changed as part of lesson 0.0 versus what changed as part of lesson 0.5.
Okay. So,
Oh man, I screwed all this up. was under the wrong branch.
Should be fine. I think you can just branch off of your branch.
Well, I already had a branch that I branched off of for this one. I guess I could delete that branch and then remake it. For 0, right?
Or
Or is the 05 that we'll be uploading? What we just did.
so the
Or we-
goal of this app is to have you follow along in class, and then as you build it out, you'll have code that you wrote and can reference and pull in later. So these aren't assignments that you'll be turning in unless it's part of the homework.
Got it.
Okay.
The homework is the one that the other repository that we created.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so this is eventually going to be a to-do app. So let's go ahead and start. I mean, don't follow along right now, but here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this my controller into the to-do controller. This controller's job is going to be managing creation, adding, deletion, editing of to-do objects, whatever we decide those are going to be. Okay, Visual Studio, if you change the name of the file, instead of the class first, it's going to say, hey, there's only one class in this file called my controller, which was the name of this old file. Would you like to also rename that? Oops, it failed for some reason. No. When it succeeds, it'll update this and refactor all references to it. Super useful. Okay, so redid the to-do controller, renamed it. I want to now update my folder here to match. So I've renamed my, now this needs to be to do. And I don't care about the greeting, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. All right. There are several tools that help us generate a lot of this view-related stuff. So I will eventually delete this because I want to replace it with one of the generated templates. But in order to do that, I need a model to generate a template off of. So let's define in our models folder a new class. Don't worry about putting CS at the end. You can put it there if you want, but if you don't, it just appends it automatically.
Wait, sorry, how did you do the new class?
So I can right-click on models, add class.
Oh, okay.
You can get it to it under new item too.
I see.
Yeah, it's weird. Mine's not showing that under
Are
the models
you-
folder.
Are you debugging currently?
No.
And then we click class.
So I'm doing this.
Right click,
What do
add.
you call it, something? Do you call it to do?
You call it
You-
To do, okay.
You don't have a project open.
Thanks, Jason.
Oh, so I need to like just double click on something.
So you've opened a folder is what it looks like. So go to File, Open,
Close folder.
yeah, close folder. Open Project or Solution.
What?
This is what I was trying to open.
Yep, and then you click on the solution file.
That one?
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Awesome. Good to know.
Okay, so things I think my to-do should have in them. I need a way to track my to-do, so I'm going to give it an ID property.
Tab.
Tab after prop. I'm going to give it a title. description. And I'll give it a status. Oops. I want status to be an object, so I need to go create that too. Luckily, Visual Studio is awesome. I can click in here and say generate class static a new file. And boom, it drops it over there for me. And so here, I'll define two new things. I'll do prop. I want to be able to track my statuses and make sure they're unique. So I'll put an int here as well, an ID. And I'll do the same thing here. Except this is going to be a string. And since I know it's a status, I'll say a value. The value of this status will be the string. All right, so if I did everything right, I can go to right click, build solution, and it would build and hopefully no errors. Cool, 1 succeeded, 0 failed, 0 skipped, we're all good. So the next thing I want to do is I would like to update my index view to use the generated template. So I'm going to delete the old one, right click, add view. So I still want to name this index. But now for the template, I want this to be a list. In order for me to select a list, I need a model, which is my to-do. I will use a layout page, but I wanted to use the default one from View Start. So I'll leave that blank.
Excuse me.
Let's see.
And then click OK. All right. Yes, so I named this project To Do. That was bad because there's a class called To Do, and that leads to a little bit of confusion. So I'm going to rename or renamespace everything to To Do App so that that won't happen anymore. Someone follow? So I will go up here before I get too far. We'll change that. Change that. Change it there, there, and there. Most of that will fix down here in the view imports. And then the last two places are the program and startup. You can save all files by doing Control-Shift-S. And then the last thing we want to do to make sure, let's say using statement here. The last thing we want to do to make sure that that doesn't happen again is we'll right click properties and we'll change the assembly name and default namespace to the new namespace we used. I can build the whole solution by doing Control-Shift-B. Make sure I didn't miss anything, and I didn't. So at that point, that's probably enough for y'all to catch up on. If you missed something or you think you missed something, raise your hand and I'll go back to it.
No, I think I missed the shortcut to creating a new file whenever
So
when you did status.
So I had status here, and I didn't
So you
have-
created an object name.
So I right-clicked on this little, well, it was a light bulb, and so you can, you'll say create new file
Oh, okay.
when it's still underlined red and hasn't been created yet.
Okay.
Have you created the class or?
No, I haven't. I wasn't anywhere near there right
Okay.
now. I mean, I created this, but this is going to have to change according to all the conflict.
Something strange happened to me. So I went to do this, but I hadn't renamed any of the other things. Is that a
Okay.
bad idea?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, well, how do I get out of this?
So it's just a new tab,
Okay,
so you just close it.
this
Oh,
is just, okay.
Yep.
And then I'm at that same place, I think, because I was at the
You see
status.
this little thing that appears right there?
This.
That little light bulb?
Oh, yes.
So you put your cursor there, it'll, don't hover over it, it appears over here. If you do, it appears right below your cursor. You click that.
Okay. Generate cost status and new file.
There you go.
Okay. And was I supposed to do anything? You added some properties.
I did.
Right?
So. Here are the properties in each of the classes.
Nice. So int ID.
It's trying. It like just opened. Yeah. So now I can do the thing.
So for you, I would just start in the lesson 01.
Really? Lesson
It would
01.
save
Just
value.
so.
Oh, sorry, 005.
Just start here.
Yeah, just start here for your projects. So when you
It doesn't go off of anything.
there's a start of lesson folder.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what you're gonna do.
Well, I thought that some of this stuff went like led into this stuff. Was that just
That's been completed and copied over into the start of lesson or lesson
I gotcha.
05.
okay?
So starting lesson 05, you have everything from before that.
Okay. Cool.
Is it value or values, the property there?
Value. Did anybody else's to-do app have any additional properties?
Mine had some dumb ones.
I mean, I don't think so. Maybe date or
Mine
time,
had like
due
a
date.
type, a deadline.
Okay.
We don't have to do that though, it's fine.
Good to know, good to know.
I also have this really dumb display ID thing that I would not recommend to a friend.
So what was the thing that you did with the view where you like it basically built the view with all the attributes in it?
All right, so has everyone deleted the old index page?
Yeah.
So you would delete this and actually go to it again.
So hang on, where at what folder?
There should be a to-do folder.
Use
Did you rename your my folder to to-do?
not yet.
Okay.
So this is gonna get deleted.
Actually, both of those will.
And then I'm gonna create a new one, right?
You can rename, or you can create a new, doesn't matter.
Rename to do app.
Nope, just to-do.
Okay.
And then back up in your controllers. Rename that to to-do controller.
Okay.
So where do I get to where that project you talked about was copied?
So you have the workbook?
Yes. I have a Columbian.
Okay, so go in File, Open, Solution, Project.
Oh.
Project Solution. Go find that repository here.
And then
Lesson 05.
Okay.
Start of lesson.
Interesting.
And then click on the
This one?
the folder.
Okay.
so after we delete this, then we make a new one? Is that-
Yes. So everyone
I'm at the part of updating everything to do app.
Okay, so once you've deleted the index and the files over here,
Uh-huh.
right-click, add view.
Okay.
That brings up this add MVC view generator.
Uh-huh.
I still want to name it index so that it matches my method name.
Okay.
And then I want it to display a list of items. So that's the template I'm going to use.
Gotcha.
And I select the to-do as the model that's going to be used for this view.
Index list.
Do as the model.
Two.
Got it.
And then we're not using reference script layout blank.
No, so clicking this would generate that section scripts for you
Mm-hmm.
and place it in this view in case you wanted to include a Google Maps or something for it.
Okay.
But we're not doing that, so no sense
Okay.
generating it.
There was an error building. Sweet.
Yes,
me
your
too.
project has to
Failed to
build
build. Oh,
before you can use this generator.
well, that's because I've got.
Yeah, I had the same thing. So now I need to cancel and I need to run a bill.
How do you?
Yes.
So this one, bill solution. Oh, great.
This is fun. You mind if I poke around on your idea?
Yeah, not at all. Help yourself. It's non-succulent.
How do I go to?
You may have changed this while you're here.
I opened the file, yeah, maybe. I opened the file from the NetCore workbook. I opened like a new one rather than keep building on the last one.
Yeah, so you may have changed that inadvertently when you were
Okay.
here
Just
changing
the
the
properties.
when you were changing these.
Okay.
If you had like tabbed or something
Okay.
and then
Sure.
scrolled, for instance. that
Yeah.
would- Okay, those are so yeah, so 2-1 here.
Okay, great. That's the only issue.
Yep.
Okay, so then I will make the view in the to-do.
Okay.
This one.
Template this.
It's fine from here. What's
Little.
what do you think that's wrong?
Then what should I do? Just return.
Oh, save it. You'll use two screens. Save thumbs up there.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
That was it. That's all you're gonna do.
Thanks a lot.
So I've got a question for you.
Yes.
I've got. So we had the issue with the to-dos and you changed it to app.
Mhm.
I'm not getting the same like warnings over here. I'm sure that's some kind of option.
So to-do.
But even if I didn't have that, like where conceptually, like where is that logic for to-do app? Is that the namespace?
The to-do app should be the namespace. Yes. So it's
So
right in
any-
this file.
So anywhere I have that, that needs to be app.
Yes.
That's app already.
Can you see the one that says it?
The which one?
The, if I have the all the properties.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
The one that says this, can you see the if I have all the properties?
That's all correct right there.
Okay.
And your status. This should be value, not type. You're doing all right over here?
Got some errors. Pretty sure I didn't rename all the right to-dos.
Okay. Everything in here doesn't matter.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. So go down here to your view imports. Those are the two.
Okay.
So what is the red check mark versus the green plus sign in front of these things?
So red check marks, that's the source control plugin for Visual Studio to let you know which files have changed and which haven't.
Before you save, or like after you save,
Um,
it'll go away, I guess, after you save.
no, it should go away after you commit.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool. So that's like the gray dot or whatever in Visual Code.
I guess. Yes.
What is the view name you added?
Say it again.
The view name you added? What is that?
Index?
Yeah, so this will be index. It will match the name of the only method in the to-do. So this file should be to-do controller. Low file with that.
That's good.
It's fine for now, you can. The one below that. That should be to-do controller.
Can I ask I'm having a couple errors here, so the first is status cannot be found.
Okay, if you double click on it, it'll take you to the error. And the reason that's probably happening is if you scroll to the top of your file, I'm missing the import.
Do I need
One of those quick fixes that we used earlier to fix the file will do that for you.
what's it back there?
The little light bulb.
Oh,
So instead of you have to type that out, you can do that too because all those are necessary. That line.
Oh
If
no.
you hover over that, you see the little light bulb.
uh-huh,
It'll say, "Did you mean to include this using?" So
uh-huh,
if you do that,
okay.
then it adds at the top for you.
Oh, great. Okay. And then,
I broke it.
So what you're probably missing is on your-
Unhandled exception occurred.
Oh, no, yeah, that's okay.
No,
Change your
view
take
greeting
space.
was not found.
where did I do that?
You have to do
The view greeting.
Somebody else have questions? Let's use the layout. And then you're good.
Yay, success.
I'm having to find out where my view went. My view layout.
It's under shared.
Under
View is shared. Yeah.
No, that wasn't the error. I just built this and I got a sweet unhandled exception from to do.
Yes, because we haven't made everything.
We haven't pointed it to.
So it's the code's still pointing to greetings. We haven't been able to run it yet. We just changed a bunch of stuff so far.
Okay.
I
I was trying to get back to where we pointed it there though, because we just went over it. So.
Oh, that would be in your controllers.
Right. So it should be this controller pointing to. Oh. Okay.
So you want me to start like this, right? Or
So I'm essentially is all that in there? No, so the rest of the lessons are not as detailed as that first one.
okay.
Let's see. This is lesson 5. Yes. This is. Can you scroll down some more?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I was in the middle of rewriting this last night, and I didn't quite make it all the way through.
Oh,
So
that's all right.
not quite. Okay. Let's go back to the project.
That other laptop should be up this week.
Okay. So you can stop. Everyone get the view? Does everyone have the project building? They have their new index view with the list template and all of their stuff renamed spaced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Will you say that one more time? Just
All
so
right,
I
you
can-
have your generated list view for the to-do list. You have your to-do and status classes. You have everything renamed spaced and the project builds.
Yes, I believe so.
I have it.
So expand that out. Okay, so start by renaming my controller to to-do controller. And then create a to-do class and a status class under the model folder.
Okay.
Okay, so you still need to update to-do here to to-do that to match the namespaces you changed everywhere else. Okay, at the beginning. So this to-do
Okay,
got
okay,
the
okay.
to-do. In the meantime, if everyone who's done will open up Visual Studio, go to Tools, Extensions, and Updates.
And get which.
I have several installed here. Not all of them do you need, but the stuff that highlights which files have errors in them.
Yeah.
Is this one here?
Solution error.
Solution Error Visualizer. Another useful one is Power Commands for Visual Studio. And you search for those by selecting online and then typing that in.
Okay, so solution. I'm gonna start over. It's
Solution Error Visualizer.
From Microsoft.
download. Boom. Done.
It won't activate till you till you shut down Visual Studio. I wouldn't do that now because it takes a few seconds, and if your computer's a bit slow, you might fall behind.
Okay.
Power something.
Yes, the other one was Power Commands for Visual Studio. This adds extra options to the right click on a lot of places. Quick launch tasks. I think this is something. Oh no, never mind. Don't do that one. That's something different. Match margin. If you'll notice on the files I have, there's a vertical line connecting the brackets. That's what this one does. If you like that. Wait, does it match? Oh, sorry. This is for the scroll bar. The editor guidelines does the bracket connecting.
I think it's already installed on mine. Because it's got the dashed for the indentation. Is that what you're talking about? Like the dash for the indentation?
Oh, yeah. Maybe that comes standard now. These are extensions I've used for a long time. Control click, go to definition is probably pretty useful.
Control.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to download all these again. I haven't installed the enterprise thing yet.
Okay. Did you get rid of all your errors?
That didn't change the name, the one I was trying,
Okay.
so I have to.
Let's scroll through. So anything with a G is going to be a generated file. We can't change those and change a stick. So we will have to change everything else that it's complaining about. So you scroll through that list again.
This didn't change the selection. Everyone was trying to do the properties.
Yes. So what these two settings do is when you build, the DLL that gets put out will be called to-do app.dll. And this one is for when you create new files, that's the namespace that we use.
Okay,
So,
so it's not like
right, so this doesn't fix it all over the place, it just keeps new files from being added with the wrong
okay,
namespace.
so I change here.
Right, so you've already changed there, and so let's go to the home controller. So we'll change it there. Let's go ahead and change it here too. And then back in Solution Explorer, we want to do that same thing in every CS file. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 places. And then the program will start up at the very bottom. Eddie.
Yeah.
What have you been able to complete so far?
So I was about to ask to change that to the to-do controller. All I needed to do was just literally change that, and then that little drop down and then in the file too.
Right. So you just changed my to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then okay. And then what were the classes I needed to add?
So I would start with rename spacing. If you haven't done that already.
No.
Okay. So every CS file, change the namespace on.
Okay. Gotcha.
The view imports, change it here.
Okay.
And then the last thing you'll do is right-click properties and change the assembly name and default namespace to that.
Okay. Cool.
All right, everybody else.
I'm getting one error, but we're probably gonna fix it.
When you run,
Yeah, that one. I guess that index.
yes. So we haven't
Or
updated
not.
everything yet.
Said something about passing a string instead of a enumerable object.
Yes. So this is our old controller. Last lesson. I don't care about a lot of this. So I'm going to get rid of it. And instead, I want to go to the same view I was before. And I need my oops, I never generated it again. Okay, so my view is going to expect a list of my model classes. Did everyone watch now, or are they still working on?
So
I was making sure. Fine, if you need extra time. Okay, so my view is expecting a list of objects. So,
message right there needs to be deleted.
thank you.
Yep. I mean, I could be wrong. Could be more. That's what I see.
All right, so this is expecting a list of to-dos. Okay, that's what we told it. So if I try to pass something other than that, it's going to gripe at me for it. If I don't pass anything, it'll take null because it's going to use the default value for whatever that type is. So if we go to do index, I'll get an error. That's because model here is null. This is C# code because it starts with the @ and so you get this same error in a CS file because you're trying to enumerate something that isn't set to an enumerable. Make sense? So to get around that, and since we're not doing any framework yet, we're gonna stub in some data. So I'm going to create a private variable here. It's going to be a list of our to-do items. I'm going to do control dot to bring up that context menu instead of trying to move my mouse over there. And then enter to pull in the namespace. Then I'm going to do it again for list because I need system.collections.generic for that to work.
That must be one of your plugins.
The dot.
Control dot. Yeah,
It's
that's.
working for me. Oh, but I also did all your plugins.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I did them, but I didn't restart. So.
Oh, me. Never mind.
Yeah, you might
It may
have
be
to-
because I'm using TeamViewer, so please ignore.
So I'm going to call this a list, and I'll do. Oops.
So control dot's just like hitting the light bulb.
So I'll use the IntelliSense here to create a new one. And if you haven't seen this syntax before, I'm creating a new list and initializing it with list values. So I'm just going to create a new to-do and do the same thing. So my ID property will have a value of 1. My title will have a value of my first to-do. Get the app working. And we'll give it a status of statuses. Two. And because this is an object, I'm going to go ahead and create some statuses up here too. So private static list of status. Dictionary uses a syntax where we can specify the key. Oops. I want this to be a dictionary. Type int.
So why is my to-do not pulling in? Was there a using that I did not include? Because I had the app and models, but in the list, it's not recognizing to-do as a class.
You have,
Yep, that's in there.
are you sure, or do you have this up here too?
Mm-hmm. System collections generic.
Okay.
What's the difference between gray and not gray in using?
This system.using is not used in this file anywhere, so I can include it, but it doesn't do anything. So the syntax here is telling me this is an unused using statement, you can remove it.
Okay.
And then I'll give this an ID of 2. And a value of in progress. All right. So now we've got some data we can work with. And so for my list view, I just want to return that list of objects. Everyone understand what I've done here?
Yeah, it's just not working.
It's fancy, but yes.
All right. So let's build our project. And now our internal server should render, and it does. We don't have a create page, but everything else is working. Everyone get up to here with getting those lists created and then passing that to the view method.
I can't figure out how to do the properties thing you're showing me how to do.
Okay.
I have it here.
I think I got everything else though, to that. Just change it. But I don't know where you said to hit properties, but I've tried on a lot of them.
Okay. So let's see. Double click on. Did you change all your CS files already?
I think so. Okay.
All right. So just open one of them for me. Okay. So you need to change this to do on all of your files. Do namespace to do app.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Okay. Just on the namespaces?
Just the namespaces. Yep. And the using statements that
Is there
reference them.
way-
Ooh, maybe you should
Does that work?
try that. Try to do it all over the place. Oh, look at you.
Did it work? Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Cool,
Awesome.
that's awesome.
I should have done that. Okay, so scroll to the top and right click on the project.
That's this.
That's the project. The line above it would be the solution.
Oh, what does that mean?
A solution contains multiple projects, and one
Oh.
project is the code.
Okay.
You're gonna build.
Gotcha.
You can think about a project gets compiled into a DLL,
Okay.
and a solution will compile multiple projects into multiple DLLs.
Okay. Cool. So the properties on the project. That's what I needed. Cool.
So,
I'm not quite sure.
So you're still passing null.
Right, and I'm not really sure why. So this is my index. And then,
Let's scroll down to that error.
it was the-
In the console or the editor. To do index and scroll down. This is where yours having.
Oh,
So it's saying model is null.
okay.
And so how do we pass data into that model? You remember?
In the controller.
Yep.
In here.
Okay.
So I needed to put something here.
Because that's how we
And I
pass.
put this and this.
Mhm.
Did I name that correctly? It's gonna be.
Yep, you're good.
So just say let's.
Just these little underlines, unless they're red, they're just hints and suggestions on how to stay consistent with your name.
Okay.
So you could make it read only because it's not everything.
So is there something I'm supposed to do to save this? And when I put it in?
Just when you put it in, you hit this little star. That just means it's a pending change. So if you want to save it, you hit the
Oh, cool.
save it or the save all, the one next to that. Yep. And it'll make those little stars go away.
Cool. Okay.
All right, so you did that. You got your view as a to-do. Can you expand your folder there on to-do?
Let's go.
You don't need greetings. Yep, index.
Oh, I think that's this, right?
So you can delete that one too. So in your models, you're going to create 2 new classes. One of them is a to-do class.
In this area view models?
Yeah, under this folder. So you'll create 2 new files.
Okay, that's where I was confused.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that creates a new file, quick class one.
And you give it a name. To-do.
We don't have to put CS, right?
Yep, so put in the full properties, ID, title, description, and status.
So I can just do rough.
Tab, tab.
Oh, tab, tab.
There you
Cool.
go. Just 2 tabs total, not
Yeah.
consecutively.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Oh, I see.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
What is with my class not working?
Okay.
It says namespace is used like a type.
That means that you have to do probably under your models. Let's go through everything here then. So let's do home controller, to do controller, error view model, next one. Jump down to program.
Those 2 others.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, so this needs to be.
I thought I remembered
And
I
then try to start
you
up.
just told me.
it. So now it just
Yeah, these 2 are not updated.
Um,
Okay, cool.
ID,
think if I had that
which is an
error thing, it would have popped
title,
out.
which is a string, capital T title.
Let me try.
Description, which is a string,
Okay.
And then to do,
capital T
so
description.
it's still giving me
Capital
C#
status, which is a capital.
C# is case
Oh, that's right.
yeah, I probably used just a
Everything has all
lowercase
of
d
those
on the
same
one that I
capitals,
Really?
including the I.
Oh, really?
created. Cool. And then for the dictionary, what does it? It doesn't really matter what we call this, right?
About convention.
Statuses or whatever.
Well, it seems like
No, you'll just use it here when you're defining the status on your to-do.
Oh, yeah.
You'll use
Probably a little
that
different.
variable to get the index you wanted.
Oh, that was status.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's statuses dot variable or whatever.
Capital S. Oh,
So,
Whoa.
so here's
And then capital S.
statuses right here.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me
yep,
reformat
and
this.
then to turn that into a class, because you have to turn it into a class. I think it has to be the cover and then
Yeah, it was making it
Yeah, I
difficult
like
to
the
read it.
label in this.
generate class status.
And it
There
needs
you
it,
go.
and it needs it in
And
a
then-
new file?
And yeah, so here's the status class
I'm gonna
now,
format.
and so you have to get the status properties,
Gotcha.
which is anti-D and string value.
Wait, let me find where I just was. Oh, what? Wait, we just had a new class.
All right,
Did it go
so
away?
you see the
Oh, it's
status
over here.
here
Weird.
is used down here.
I don't know why that's happening,
Yeah,
but okay.
so it's an anti-D
yeah.
and string value.
Now, so when you do the scoping here, where you did like 2 comma,
This.
yeah, because you did like 2 comma new status.
So
That's the 2 is the dictionary location. So 1 would be like incomplete. You just started with 2 to do it, or is that?
right. So the completed portion, to save time, there's a not started and a done in here. So not started is 1, in progress is 2, and 3 is done.
So you just
Instead of
did.
me pasting all that in here, I just typed the one we need for now.
Okay.
So I can pull all this over. It'll probably make more sense to you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like get my scoping right.
Where did you get all that from?
I just pasted it. I have the finished project here.
I see. Should we get that in?
You don't have to. We're not
Okay.
using the other 2. It's fine.
Okay.
That's just why I started with 2. Anybody else having trouble?
Mine's working. I saw how it has this like edit, delete detail. we didn't code that, right?
That was part of the template.
So that, because I was kind of inspecting it. But where does it show me what file it comes from?
It will not show you that here.
Okay.
You can kind of guess by the fact that we have to-do/details.
Okay.
So you would go to the to-do controller
Okay.
and the details method.
To do control.
We don't have that in there yet, but it would match the same thing as a to-dos details file. The to-do controller details method would simply do.
Okay.
So we follow the conventions and we can look at the URL and see where in the code it's going to go.
So if I click that right now, nothing's going to happen because we
Right.
haven't coded anything to happen yet.
Right. It's going to
Ah, I
Toolbar.
understand.
So why? Yeah. Why is it not showing the status column?
we don't have that displayed yet. If you go look at the view,
Yeah.
status isn't listed.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. I should have.
Oh,
Yeah, Steve got started with renaming me.
okay. It looks like you have a syntax error here.
Yeah.
If you double click on it, it will take you to that line. So you don't need a semicolon at the end of that line. No, you still need a bracket, not a semicolon.
But it's just,
So you get rid of the semicolon here
okay.
and then put another floating bracket. There you go. And
All right, whatever.
let's go open up Solution Explorer and go to your status.cs. Oh, actually, you don't have the using status, so I'll go over
It's like I
status.
go on my phone and it's like having all this, having all that. And I'm like, oh,
That's what we want to do. We want
It's
to
been
import
nothing like that
that
for 2 weeks. It's crazy.
That
Yeah, I
adds.
didn't do that because my naming was not right.
Oh, okay. So that looks right for this one. You do the same thing for to do. I'm guessing it probably has to do model.
so I went on my phone to
I'm not sure.
It wasn't Kavanaugh.
It was not. And then I
Okay,
just
so
started
you actually
thinking.
renamed the class to do that.
Yeah, I need
Everything.
to recheck the whole thing.
That'll get you in trouble sometimes.
So delete after,
Those sound like
and then go open up your to-do.cs file. That looks right. Okay, let's go back to,
I think this one should I do that or?
that's fine, that shouldn't matter.
So, yeah. This one is change. Nothing else.
Oh, okay, I know what's going on here. Let's scroll down to your program.cs. So, nope, that one's fine. Go to your startup.cs. Over here in your solution. Yeah, so it doesn't know this is probably still under the app namespace. Yep. So add app to the end of your namespace there. And rebuild. Getting closer. Go over to your Solution Explorer and go to import view imports. Update both of those to be app 2. One last thing here. Can you double click that one? Oops. Yeah, so this just needs to be ID. It doesn't have to be the whole thing.
Oh,
It probably just
Somebody
auto completed
changed, yeah.
when you and lowercase t.
you so much.
Anybody else getting any errors?
I just
Need to make
sure
sure.
yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
Says
Value. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's remove everything out of here except return view and nothing in between.
all this.
Yep, remove all that. And then remove everything between the parentheses.
Yeah.
All right. And then for now, you won't have everything, but this will get you running. So do new list.
And then I'll be able to from here go back and watch the videos or whatever.
Right, so inside here, do to do. And put closing parentheses at the end of list so that you call the constructor. Yep. And then it's gonna need you to import some stuff. So use the helper quick fixes.
Like this.
Yep. So you want to import both the list for generic and to do. So use the first option there.
This. I see. Oh,
So do
wow.
the same thing with to do.
I see.
All right, so that'll let the view render. You just won't have anything in it.
Mhm.
And I think that gets you caught up.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem. So if you want to type this or look at the equivalent file in the end of project, you'll see all of this here. You want to copy that in instead.
Okay.
All right. So the last thing I want to show you is you'll notice that the view here is missing status. It would be great, because status is a class, if we could show the status in a consistent way across our entire application. Luckily, there's a way to do that. So I'm going to essentially copy the line before that in the index view and return status here. What I'm doing is adding another column in that grid view. Status?
So that's the column header.
Yes.
Okay. And that's why there's not a dot find for anything there, because you're just writing whatever. Well, like when you do the dot, it doesn't find anything because it's like
There is an
doing-
overload for this, and it can't determine the type until after you tell it a property on the model. I think
Okay.
that's what's happening here, because I did notice that.
So- Am I gonna need
Yesterday.
to create a new index?
Oh, have you not done that?
No.
Okay. Does your project build? Control-Shift-B will build the whole solution. So if that succeeds, I'll come back and help you make
Okay.
this file. Okay, so we've done that. If we just run it, it's not going to exactly give us what we want.
Do we have to do it twice?
The one up at the top defines the column header,
Okay.
and the one at the bottom defines the value
Oh, okay.
in the
And-
in the row.
So we do it twice?
Yes.
So the head and the body. Got it.
Okay, so now we have our status, but this looks weird, right? This isn't what we wanted. We don't want the ID and then the value printed out. Okay, so we would like to be able to say in a consistent way, display this when it's an object. There is a way to do that. We will go under shared and we'll create a new folder.
Oh,
Oh, I did not do it this way. Shared new folder.
And we'll call it display template. Plural, display templates.
shared.
And we're going to create a view under it.
And we're going to create a view. And I'm going to call it status. View I'm going to leave it empty. This is going to be a partial, so there won't be a layout.
Are we doing the underscore for this or not?
You can or you cannot. The way I'm going to show you how to do this, it's going to be very explicit, so there's less magic going on. But by convention, you would not put an underscore under it.
And I apologize because I'm just catching up. Was that empty or what? For the
Yes, straight empty file. Feel free to just watch right now, because all of this is already in there.
Could you please do it again? On the display templates.
So I create a new folder,
Uh-huh.
right click, add view, and I named it status, and did create as a partial, and I want it empty.
Okay. Thank you.
Something weird.
Just follow along for now, and I'll come around and help you all after. So this is some logic I threw in here. What's really important though is this style. I want to span the value of my status, and I want it to set the color based on whatever value it is. As you imagine, there could be other ways you do this. You could define a color on your model that's stored in the database and is the color you want to style the element as. If you did it that way, then you don't need all this, and you just need to set the color from the model here. So this is just straight HTML, and then I can stub in those values for whatever code I want here. So since I don't have that column, I'm saying default color is transparent, and then if it's 1, 2, or 3, set it to these various colors, and then set a color in the HTML here. And now, because I named this file status, and that status is the name of my class, when I refresh, it now populates it with that formatted template that I created. If you want to be more explicit about that, and say you have multiple templates. You have a status detail and a status short or something like that. You can add attributes to the model you're using. Is everyone familiar with attributes?
So,
This is like the key and stuff.
Yes, exactly like that.
Okay.
So we're going to use data annotations here from the component model. And I'm going to tell it the name of this template to use. So this is saying load up that template. This magic of discovering where that file is follows the convention of look in the directory in which, in this case, the to-do controller exists. Go try to find a layout under here, under something called display templates. If you can't find it, then search on shared, and if you can't, after that, fail. Because we would want something like this to be shared across multiple views, we may have other controllers that are doing magic here. I opted to put this into the shared folder so that multiple things can access it. Any questions? All right, if y'all want to catch up real quick before y'all leave, that's fine. I'll leave it up. And
I was getting some errors with my error view model. It says the error view model could not be found.
Go to here.
You're fine.
Okay, scroll down here.
And then
was that
these,
status view,
yes.
I changed these.
Just
where was
empty?
it? I changed them to, and then
Robert?
Okay.
It wasn't. It had some logic for the
views don't quite keep up.
status
Oh,
value
I
being
see.
one or ID being
So
1, 2, or
then-
3,
control shift B.
and then setting the color.
When you create it.
Oh, when yeah, it's empty when you create it. Sorry. When
Oh, that's okay. I wasn't clear. Sorry, just doing it.
Use a create as partial.
doesn't do anything except not generate a bunch of other stuff.
Whoa, cool.
Okay.
It worked.
So what was the color stuff that we needed to add?
That is optional. I just wanted to show you that it was doing something besides just printing out a property.
Oh, okay.
So from where I'm at now, I'll be able to check out today's class video and
Yes, all of that should be in the class video. Y'all would like an attendance code, I'm sure.
yes, please.
Whatever.
I missed that one last class.
I also did.
You should be able to check.
Yeah,
That's actually the same one.
Oh, it is.
What?
That's
Let me refresh. Maybe I'm a day behind here. Oh no, that's not right. Cool.
That'd be way too convenient.
Couldn't somebody just watch the video and then put in the attendance code?
I don't think it lets you put it in if it's like
It's only good for
class.
Oh, true.
I'm guessing that's a 0
A 0.
with the slash.
I don't
Okay.
have that character.
You don't have a 0?
Okay.
I'm like worried now. What kind of
Cool.
So we just delete this when it comes in? That's
Yes,
just a comment.
that's a comment anyways. You can leave it in if you wanted.
Oh, you said the next thing was creating the index?
Yes. Okay. So right click on your to do.
This one?
To do folder. Sorry. Do add, view. And this is just like we did last class with creating a view, except now we're going to tell it use the list template, not the empty one.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this. Okay.
Make sure to name your view index.
Cool.
And we specify what type of list of to-dos. And we're not going to import any scripts, so don't generate the section script tag for us. And we are going to use a layout, so go ahead and make that check. Cool. And then
These empty. Okay. Cool.
Hey Mason.
Yep.
Did you hear about Doom 64 players?
And the index.
That
as
somebody
well,
hacked
and,
Doom 64 to where you can have like a battle royale with 60 players or whatever.
Of course, it'd be a battle royale.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be like Fortnite, but for Doom on the 64.
Yeah.
Anything from the first course.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Like plain old HTML essentially. We just get these special cat symbols that let us add code in there.
Yeah.
So it generates all of this for you
Oh, cool.
based
Okay.
on the properties inside of your model.
Wow.
So if there's a way for it to print it out, it will include it here. And if it doesn't know how to, it will skip it. Which is why status wasn't included, because it's an object, not a primitive string or anything.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So it just generated all this based on what I have built from the project already?
Based on the type that you specified to do when you were selecting that generator.
Okay. Cool.
So question.
Yeah, you're really quiet. Just a second. All right, can you hear me? When did you join? I didn't know you were online.
I was.
You're probably wanting the attendance code, right?
Yes. It's the same like yesterday, but I don't remember what was yesterday.
MQOA, all caps.
Say that? Yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I got a question for you, because you did it a different way with that partial link. What I did to get it to display the status, I guess this is a workaround.
Just do dot value.
Yeah, that's what I did. Is that something that you're doing like on your code where you had the model dot value? Is that not only passing back the color but also the value right there? It says model question mark value. Is that doing the same thing?
This is doing the same thing. The problem you're going to run into is that
Doing it the way I did it.
doing it the way you did it
Yeah.
is that if you do status dot value,
Yeah.
then in your to-do controller, you null it.
It's kind of like bomb.
Yes. If it doesn't make me a liar. Oh, okay. I guess it's smart enough to figure it out.
So what's the difference? Okay, so I mean, I get how that's very C# syntax, but what is in your controller when you did the part or the view? Sorry.
Here?
Negative.
Here.
Yeah, that, yeah. So it's, what is the question mark doing here?
This says if the model is not null, call the value property.
Okay.
If I didn't have this in here,
It would basically do the same thing.
it would blow up, unlike it did here.
Oh, okay.
Save. Yeah. So it's trying to do something with model, and model is null, so it can't access it.
Gotcha. Cool.
And actually, that's something I didn't cover for. So all of these should have a question mark.
Well, if those have a question mark, you don't need it down there, right? Because it won't return a. Well, actually, I guess you still need it.
Yep. So now it's telling me
That
model
way.
is null.
Got it.
Something strange is happening with mine. Not really sure what I missed. My status just says status.
Okay.
And that was actually the case, like when you first and you were like, oh, what's wrong with this? Like, why is this not ideal? Mine just said status. I'm not really sure where I went wrong.
Okay, so let's go to your index. And so this is the column.
Uh-huh,
And
and
then
then,
scroll down.
yeah.
Okay, so you copied the top line
I did.
here. So these are slightly different.
Oh my
This
goodness,
is
I
display
know.
4 and display pane 4.
Oh, okay,
There you go.
and model item,
And then so
And-
this should be the item from the for loop that you have defined
and
above.
this should be item status. Display for, okay, I understand. That's probably what I did.
Cool. Alrighty. All right.
So we have now at the bottom down here the span.
Mhm.
It's just straight HTML.
Yay.
Basically. Okay.
Okay.
Yep, remember, nothing special about CSHTML views when it comes to like what you can put in them.
Mhm.
Everything you know how to do with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can still do in these files. This is just in addition to that, now you can add C#.
Okay.
So for next time we do the lesson 0 homework,